Hello, and welcome to our second devlog. In this video we will cover the making of Hollow Flame, our second game, cooked and published for the spooky season of Halloween. We hope you tried and enjoyed the game. We welcome any feedback. The two of us really went into overdrive to learn and improve on Tiny Tides. If by any chance you didn't get to play it, the link is in the description and it's free until November 11th. As with the last video, this one will cover the game making process, a bit more in-depth than the last one, but hopefully you will learn something from our step forward, as well as from our mistakes. Let us hear from Maya and learn more about how games are made.
After finishing Tiny Tides, we wanted to focus on what we learned and try to correct our mistakes. So we decided to make a new project that will be smaller in scope and more planned and more organized. For that, we decided to use one of the ideas we had earlier about using light to solve puzzles. I really love room escapes and games where you have UV light to discover clues and interact with things. So we wanted to focus on that and make a small horror experience where you wander around the crypt and have to avoid invisible spirits that you light up with the special candle to survive. Learning from our mistakes, we decided to make a game design document and plan everything ahead to be able to keep on track and not get too distracted with adding mechanics that don't work and getting all tangled up in the blueprints. So the first thing we did was adding a character. Originally I planned to make a full character. Even if it's a first person game, I wanted to create a full character that had body, and when you look down you can see the player can see the body and the whole character. For that I went to the Sketchfab and found this model of a woman, and I don't know, it just felt good, like for the whole game, that you're locked in this script, you don't know why, you don't know how. When you look down you can see your bloody dress and bloody hands, you don't know what happened. And here I am measuring and editing in 3ds Max, trying to figure out how to import the character into Unreal Engine. But before that I needed some animations. While Stepan usually works on animations, he was away for work and I wanted to have some sort of a placeholder, so I hopped up to Mixamo and used their idle animations to try and find something that will be a placeholder for the character. And with all that said, I did make nice animations, I did make everything, and as soon after that I got stuck because I just swapped from Unreal 5.5 to 5.6 and the first person template was a bit different and I didn't know what it was, where everything was, how it worked. So first I had trouble with exporting the model from Mixamo to Unreal Engine with correct textures, and I spent a good few hours trying to figure out what went wrong. Once I did figure that out and managed to make shaders look nice, I ran into another problem, and that is the first person template now for some reason has this double character inside, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's because the one character uses the animation so you have natural head bobbing and the other one is so you can actually see the player. I don't know, I really used first person template and this was confusing. I couldn't get first person full body character to work despite trying everything, and frankly this was still prototyping, so I just got back to 3ds Max, cropped the arm and shoved it into the first person template without the body, and it worked. So yeah, I just wanted to have a placeholder player while we make the real one, and I already spent a lot of time on that, so I just dropped it and went into making the candle. And first I needed to measure out a decent size of the candle with proper pivot points, proper points of origin that can be used in player's hand. And because the bone rotations and some rigging stuff, the candle didn't sit in the hand the way I intended, and I had to turn it around in 3ds Max to this weird angle so it would be oriented properly. And after fixing the candle and setting up the spawning system for the player to actually have the candle in their hands, I started making a blueprint for candle functionality. And here I needed to make sure that candle has candle light, it has particle for the flame, it has light for the light source, and it has a way to switch between the two states, so everything changes and moves accordingly. And that alone was not like a big deal or an issue, but since I wanted the candle to be the HP of the player or their lifeline, I wanted to make so when the player uses the blue light, the revealing light, the candle burns faster and you're actually losing HP faster. To do that, I needed to set up the blueprints so it shrinks the candle at different rates for different settings. So when you have the yellow candle, it's burning slower. When you have the blue candle, it's burning faster. Also, I needed to connect the candle to the dynamic material I created. So after finishing the candle main functionality and it being able to shrink at different rates depending on what light you're using, I had to make a material that will correspond and react to what candle you're using. So when you're holding a yellow candle, you have nice beautiful light that lights up the area, and when you're using the blue light, it reveals the hidden messages, hidden images, hidden spirits and stuff, but it's burning faster. To do that, I created a simple shader that has basic color and a few parameter settings. I didn't want to overcomplicate this one because I only needed it to work dynamically as the player moves closer and further from the item. I only have one simple mask, one color, scalar parameter for opacity strength, and scalar parameter for emissive strength. This is mostly purely cosmetic. The only thing that actually changes with the blueprint is the mask strength, that opacity goes up and down the more closer you move to the object or the further you go from it. To do that, I created a blueprint that is actually in all our revealable items and spirits and everything. It all shares this same simple system where you have a dynamic material and mask strength being the parameter you change. So this is all a simple calculation that tells the parameter where the player is, and based on the player's location, it adds or removes the strength from the opacity masks, which means that when you're closer it reveals, when you're further it fades away, and it's not like this snap or jump, it's like nice and smooth gradient. This was a bit confusing to do, but once I had it set up, I placed it in all and everything, like in all the runes, in everything we use. Once the core functionality was done and we had working candle, working material and player's arm, I started working I started making more of the smaller puzzles like room reveal puzzles, rotating discs puzzle, button puzzles, storage puzzles. I just mostly it was the same system, same blueprint, and changed it accordingly. So it would, I had buttons that you need to press, or I had a circle that you need to rotate. So I just made those puzzles really ugly but functional, and finally focused on the level design. So with all the mechanics and blueprints in place, with everything done, I could finally focus on doing what I actually like, and that is 3D modeling and environment art. In order to have somewhat of an idea how it will all look, I first created simple boxes, and I just made sure they were precise dimensions I needed for the blockout, and I used a modular approach where I create a simple wall and simple floor in correct dimensions and place them around, and I just made sure the pivot points are correct so I can later swap them. Once I finished the very rough blockout and very rough models, I started placing it around the level and testing it out and just dragging along around. First the floor shape, then adding the walls, and that was really tedious and really boring because there was a lot back and forth. Like I would put together a few tiles, test it out, see how it works, how it acts, and then I would have to go back, move every wall, move every floor, move everything, and that took a lot of times. So yeah, after spending hours on moving each floorboard, each wall piece, everything by hand, I realized there should be a better way of doing it. So I created the whole hallway section, so when I needed to move it, I could grab the whole thing and just copy it around, and I didn't need to move every floor piece, every wall piece separately. Once the battle with setting up the maze was over, I finally managed to block out the other rooms to set up where things should go, like puzzles, like where the graves are gonna be and everything. I could finally focus on working with shaders, and I must say I am really proud of what I achieved here. Because Tiny Tides was supposed to be a portfolio piece, I wasn't really mindful of how I'm using them, so I ended up with a lot of unique master shaders, each doing its own thing, and it was a mess to clean up later. So for this one, I really did my best to keep everything clean, neat and organized, and to include everything I may need, so I don't end up having million master shaders for every new thing I need. I did begin with the basic setup I had in Tiny Tides, but I really expanded on this one and made sure I have all the checkboxes, everything, so I don't have to create more. Aside from that, I also created one shader that is tree planner based, so it means it moves with the environment. So when I place two rocks next to each other and move them, they will have different part of the texture visible, so I don't have to create as many unique things for small variations. And I know that is a bit more expensive than the idea of making several different pillars or several different rocks to create unique assets, but because this was a small scope project and it only had one environment, I figured it would be okay to use this approach. Once I was happy with how my shaders look and act, I decided to make some tileable textures for this project, and to do that I went to Substance Designer and started putting up something that will be in between a rock and a brick wall. And I didn't want to go for the fully realistic environment here, but I still didn't want it to look too cartoonish and too stylized, so I tried to make something that is in between and that will work well in dark environments. I set up a simple tileable stone wall texture that I used almost everywhere, and when I actually dropped it into my project, I realized it all looks a bit too clean and too uniform, so I went back to shaders and added a bit more functionalities to add dirt, to add like for it to detect the indents in the normal map and to make the dirt pop up and look like the upper layer is dusty. And it did make a difference, it did look better, but the walls were still too uniform, so I added a few more tricks, like I added a gradient that you could slide up and down to have like the lower part of the wall more dirty or less dirty, to have like the top side dirty. And when I overlaid everything, I had a lot of control with how the walls would look with one texture and one shader only. And I'm proud to say it's also optimized for performance, so it shouldn't be laggy. So now I finally had all the pieces, and all that was left was put it together. I created more elaborate 3D models, added vaulted ceilings, added pillars, added more unique textures, added more unique elements, and just started putting it all together using my blockout as guide. I recreated all my failed maze elements into nice workable pieces, and since I did set up the pivots correctly, it was really easy just to drag drop and swap the existing ones without losing too much time on tweaking anything. And it finally started looking like an actual game. It was still a bit empty, it was still a bit dry, but the environment was really starting to make it feel like a real video game. Now we had mechanics, now we had the environment, now we had everything, but it was empty. So it was time to finally add the characters. And I'm really proud of the characters because it was my first interaction with actual AI and making it move, making it look at the player, making it do stuff. While I did want to make it more interactive, I really liked the idea of spirits just sliding around, roaming around, minding their own business and being invisible until you swap the light, and that was really fun to do.
While on the subject of NPCs, we also have an interactable one. This is Darius, a lonely soul in this dark crypt. If you interact with him, you will get a couple of lines. First being the standard opening line,
"Do my eyes deceive me?"
and he has a couple of more lines, a few Easter eggs if you pester him enough, and a side quest that he gives you. While there is no visual indicator, if you listen to him, you will know what to do. I do admit to using Audacity to deepen my voice a bit, though the growl is entirely mine. My throat hated me for it, but I consider him to be a successful first entry in the Make Interactable NPCs section. Voice acting is hard, folks. Now, back to Maya.
After the spirits started running around, my idea started to also run around, and I decided to add more like creepy noises and spiders and everything. And it was actually really funny because I do have a phobia of spiders and I don't like seeing the spiders, and just having to look at it while putting it together was fairly disgusting. And I'm not gonna lie, every time I tested something and played this game, if I would forget where I placed the spider, it would freak me out, and that was a bit, I don't know, scary to work with. And just like that, it all came together. We had functional mechanics, we had creepy crawlers crawling around the creepy environments, we had weird spirits roaming around, and with a few finishing touches, we were finally able to call it a day and publish the game. I tried to cover the whole development process in this video without going into too much depth for any of the particular subjects, but let me know in comments down below if you want me to go in depth or talk about some of the subjects in more depth, like if you want me to do a detailed breakdown on the shaders or how I made the ghosts or how I made the puzzles, drop a comment. Thank you.